Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Dominique Bond. I am CEO of Ace Ambition, and we organize and facilitate youth workshops that teach young men and young women how to create their own opportunities and how to monetize their ideas. And I'm also an empowerment speaker, and I basically teach people who are frustrated and confused how to identify those mental barriers and how to live on purpose in their purpose. And I have a great topic for today, and it's all about stop hesitating. It's all about hesitation. That's the topic for today. And I was just thinking about today, and I'm always reflecting on, on the year. And I was reflecting on some of the things that I had a goal on, accomplishing this year, some things that I wanted to accomplish this year, some things that I wanted to do this year, some things that I wanted to fulfill this year. And I did not accomplish everything that I set out to do. And I did not accomplish everything that I set out to do because I hesitated. There were certain reasons why I hesitated on certain projects that I wanted to present, or certain things that I wanted to do, or whatever the case may be. But I think this is very important because during this time where we're setting up our goals and we're reflecting on some of the things that we accomplished, some of the things that we did not accomplish. And some of the things that we did not accomplish is just due to the fact that we hesitated and we just did not get to it, or we paused and never got to it, we delayed, but whatever the case may be, we hesitated and it got in our way, or we allowed it to get in our way to actually fulfill what we really wanted to have for ourselves, or some of the things that we wanted to actually accomplish. Now, I'm going to go over some easy steps to follow. Okay, now the process itself may be a little difficult, but the steps are very easy and very clear. And you all, if you got a notepad, if you have a pen, I encourage you to take some notes down, because this is going to be very important, because it makes no sense to set the same goals that we have for this year, for next year, if we don't identify, or we don't just figure out why we did not accomplish that. Because what we're going to do is it's just going to be a pattern, and we're going to repeat the pattern, and we're going to be right back in the same place next year and wondering why we didn't accomplish what we set out to do. So the first thing that's very, very important is to really identify what it is, or what it was that you hesitated on. Identify whatever it was that you hesitated on. You have to identify that. Was it an event? Was it going to school? Was it applying for a job? Was it networking? Was it whatever the case may be? What was it that you hesitated on? Identify that. Identify that. Get a notepad and write that down. What it was that you hesitated on is very important. On everything that you were striving to do, identify and acknowledge what it was. That's very, very important. Identify what you hesitated on. Number two is to identify what it was. Once you understand what was a thing, or what it was that you hesitated on, identify what influenced the hesitation. So what I mean by that is, was it fear? Was it lack of knowledge? Was it worrying about what other folks were saying? What was it? And when you identify what it is, the fear, let's just say, for example, you feared, you was afraid. All right, what was it specifically that you were afraid of? That's very important. So we can always say, oh, you know what, I was afraid. You know what, I didn't know what I was doing. You know what, I was just lazy. Whatever the case may be, if you was afraid, what was it that you was afraid of? If we cannot identify what this is, we're gonna continue on with the pattern. We're gonna continue on with the pattern. Look, 2018, the next year is always about growth, like Malcolm just posted. It's always about growth. But it's one thing to say, it's another thing to actually have a strategy and a process in order to have that growth. So we have to get out of the mindset of just thinking that we can just say things and just have affirmations and just write things out, and we don't have a plan to actually achieve that. What's up, Dale? So once you identify whatever it was that you hesitated, whatever goal that you hesitated on, why did you hesitate? Understand, why did you hesitate? So if you was afraid of something, what was it specifically that you was afraid of? Was you afraid of being embarrassed in front of people? Was you afraid of losing money? Was you afraid of just failing? Was you afraid of not being an example to other people? What was you afraid of? Whatever. Identify that. That is so important. Once you identify that, I need you to acknowledge it. I need you to acknowledge it. It's one thing to say, it's one thing in mind, you say, you know what, this is part of the reason, but when you can actually acknowledge that this is what it was, that this was the problem, that this is what I allowed to get in my way, that speaks volumes. Because when you can acknowledge the problem, I think you're one step closer to actually coming up with a solution and not going through that problem again. Okay, so 2018 is all about accomplishing what we set out to do. I know as many of us on this video right now, what is something that we hesitated about. There's something that we hesitated. But what was it? Why did we hesitate? And what caused that hesitation? What was it? Why did we hesitate? And what influenced that hesitation? All right. So once you identify that, then we're on the right path to actually going forth and actually accomplishing or moving forward with that. I hope that's understood to everyone. The next thing is reminding yourself of your why. Reminding yourself of your why. So there's an event that I wanted to do this year, and I never did do it. I hesitated because I didn't have that much experience of really putting this event together. Okay, so since I didn't have the experience, I kind of allowed the lack of experience, but not just the lack of experience, the lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge, and the lack of knowledge kind of allowed me, or the lack of experience and knowledge basically made me think, you know what, I probably just I probably don't know enough. You know what, I probably don't have the resources. You know what, I probably need to wait. I probably need to have this in place, whatever the case may be. But what I had to understand is I was focusing so much on me. I was focusing so much on me. And since I was focusing so much on me, I was focusing on the lack of knowledge I had. I was focusing on the lack of resources I had. I was focused on me, and not the impact. Not the impact. And when it came down to the impact, it came down to the people that I wanted to impact. So if I made it about the people and less about me, I would have just stopped and just not focused so much on what I lacked and what I can do to bring in people that have the experience based upon what I lacked. Does that make sense? So many times we focus on so much on what we lack, what we don't have, what we can't do, and we don't think about the best resources that we have, our greatest assets, and that's the people around us. I know I'm not the only one. Y'all just comment, let me know if I'm the only one. Please, somebody just comment if I'm the only one. So I allowed the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience to make me that, and that influenced me, or that influenced the hesitation, and then I didn't even fulfill the event that I really wanted to do. So that's my main goal for next year. That's something that's going to happen. But now I'm focusing more on who can I bring into this committee? Who can I bring in my circle? Who have the knowledge to make this thing happen? Matter of fact, who else done it? Who else done it? So that's another thing. When it comes down to hesitation, who else are we reaching out to? 'Cause a lot of times, the things that we're trying to do, we wasn't the first one to do it. There's somebody else that have done it. So how often are you really reaching out to people? Is that a habit? Are you too caught up with just trying to do things on your own? That's a very, very bad habit that many of us have. So when that's all about networking. So with networking, you have to be bold enough to understand, you know what, you don't know it all. And when you can acknowledge that you don't know it all, you have to understand that there's other people that have the experiences, other people that have the knowledge, other people who have resources that you need. So how often are you making that a habit to actually reach out to people? Y'all, this is a habit that we really have to leave on the table. We have to use the people around us. We're trying to figure out so much, but it's something that's not meant for us to figure out. There's some things that is not meant for us to just to know it all. There's some things that just other people are just meant to do. I have a list of things that I just know, you know what? That ain't my expertise. You know what? That's not my calling. That's not my gift. That's not my natural ability. That's not my skill set. I'm gonna have somebody else do this. That's time management. We're wasting too much valuable time. I don't think many of us really understand the value of our time. I just don't. I don't. And I think as time goes on, I think as we mature, I think we more and more get a greater understanding of the value of our time. But we don't really get the value of our time. I think if we did, we would collaborate more often. We will work harder to partner with other people. And I get it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to reach out to other people. And then if it is uncomfortable to reach out to other people and you finally step out and do it, and that person doesn't take you serious, that person is not reliable, that person lets you down, that makes it even harder. You finally stepped out of your comfort zone, and then things don't work out. That's tough. But I had to understand a lot of the people who really let me down, a lot of people who told me no and just didn't want to link up, they actually did me a favor. And it's not a coincidence. A lot of people actually did me a favor, but the thing is, we just cannot stop. We cannot stop connecting with people. We cannot stop collaborating. We cannot stop partnerships. We cannot. But this is the thing. We have to leave arrogance on the table. We have to leave our pride on the table. We have to leave our ego on the table. We have to understand it's not all about us. And too often we make it about us. That's part of the reason why we hesitate. We make it all about us. But when you make it about the why are you doing this? How are you trying to impact people? How are you trying to serve people? What do other people need? When you focus on those things, all these things that you dealing with, it becomes less of a problem. Because now you always asking the right questions. What do these people need? What can I do differently? Who can I bring to the table? Who can I partner with that's going to help me expand what I got going on? How can I help other people? See, when we make it about other people, we start asking the right questions. But when we make it more about ourselves, we ask all the wrong questions. And that's when all the self-doubt happens. That's when we start to exercise all the times we done failed. That's when we exercise the past feelings we had when we failed, when we were embarrassed, and that slows us down. And I'm gonna be honest. That momentum is so important. When you get started and you have that momentum, it is so important to keep that. So important to keep that. But those negative thoughts, we got to leave on the table. We have to leave on the table. So identify, what was it? What goal? What destination did you hesitate on? Identify that. Once you identify that, what influenced the hesitation? Fear, embarrassment, whatever the case may be. What was it? When you identify what that is, specifically identify what influenced that emotion. So if you was afraid, if you had fear, what influenced the fear? What influenced the fear? Was it money, the lack of knowledge? Whatever the case may be, you have to identify these things, and you have to acknowledge these things. When you're able to identify it, and when you're able to acknowledge it, now you're able to address it. It's hard to address things that we cannot identify, that we have not identified and acknowledged yet. It's hard to address things that you have not identified and acknowledged. That's very, very important. The next thing is understand that every move that you make will not be perfect. Understand that you are not perfect, and you will make mistakes. But I had to understand now the event that I wanted to have this year, I hesitated and I didn't do it. The lack of knowledge made me hesitate. And I was thinking too much. I was overthinking everything. Due to a lack of knowledge. All I needed to do was bring in the right people. All I needed to do was focus on developing a strategic team who had the expertise that I didn't have, who had the knowledge that I didn't have, because I have certain expertise and knowledge that they don't have. So when we work as a team and focus on not what we lack, but focus on the impact, focus on the mission, then the wheels start to turn. Now we working towards progress. Now we working towards making things happen. Does that make sense? Now we're in the right mindset. Now we're focused. We have a plan. We're focused on the mission. We're not focused on ourselves. We want things to be our way. We're focused on what do these people need and how can we present it to them. But since I did not have the event this year, now next year is going to be the first time I'm having it. When really next year should be the second time I'm having it. And when you do things the second time, the third time, the fourth time, what are you doing? You're getting better and better. So now since you're hesitating, all that time that you done wasted, you could have been at this high level at whatever the case it was. Does that make sense? So whenever I do something for the first time, you're going to have some mistakes. That's a given. But when you have those mistakes, after you have them, now it's time to reflect. All right, what went wrong? Why did that go wrong? What can I do next time? Now I can add that to the next year I have it. And now that makes things better. As time go on, things get better and better and better. But things don't get better. We haven't done it yet. Things does not get better if we have not done it yet. That's very important. So you're going to have to start somewhere. You're going to have to throw yourself out there, and you're going to have to make those mistakes. You're going to. But if you're afraid of, you know what, I don't want to embarrass myself in front of other people. Well, now what you're doing is you're making it about yourself. The biggest thing is, it wasn't the fact that I didn't have the event. It wasn't the fact that I just didn't have that event, but it was all those potential people that could have attended that event, and it could have been impacted. See, that's how deep it is when we don't be obedient to ourselves. We don't be obedient to our purpose. When we don't strive for what's inside of us, those desires in us, because usually the things that we really want to do, it's not just about us, it's about other people. So now, because I hesitated, I made it about myself. All those people that could have attended that event, they didn't get impacted. So when we hesitate, it's not just about us, it's about other people losing out. So now other people are losing out because you're making it about yourself. See, when we make it that deep, when we make it that serious, then we start to second guess what we're feeling. Then we stop making it so much about ourselves and about other people. There are a lot of things that you all have in your heart that can really change the game, that can really impact people, that can really inspire people, that can really have someone say, you know what, after experiencing this, after hearing this, now I can impact other people because I believe in what this person just did. So now it's a chain reaction. It's not just how you can impact other people, but it's the people, it's the potential people that you can influence to impact more people. That's how big it is. That's how big it is. So when we understand that's how the magnitude of it, when we really understand and stop thinking about ourselves, that's going to really drive us to say, you know what? I got to make this happen. People are relying on me. People need this. People are not moving forward because they don't have this. People need this. When we think of it to that magnitude, that's going to really drive us to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, I could probably have some more money. Yeah, you know what? I probably don't have everything together right now, but you know what? These folks really need it. I feel like I can really help these people out. You get what I'm saying? So the next thing after that is to really educate yourself. Educate yourself. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, like I said before, it was a lack of knowledge and a lack of education that I had towards what I really wanted to pursue. With the event, I could have educated myself a little more, but really the biggest issue was the fact that I didn't have certain people around me. I didn't reach out to those people. But educate yourself more. Once you identify what it is, sometimes it's just things that you got to read up on. Sometimes it's just a YouTube video you gotta watch. Sometimes it's just you going to somebody that you already know on a personal basis, and you just gotta reach out to them. Right? Educate yourself. It might just be a book that you may have to read. When you constantly educate yourself, that's gonna help with the hesitation because now I have the knowledge. Some of us are just hesitating just because we lack the knowledge. That's it. So you just gonna have to do your due diligence and really just take time out just to educate yourself. The next thing is, like I already told everyone, is to constantly use the assets around you. Use the assets around you, and that's your greatest asset, and that's the people. Reach out to people. That's my last tip for the hesitation. Reach out to people. I love to tell certain people my goals because one of the things people love to do, they love to check up on you. Hey Dominique, you said you was gonna do X, Y, and Z. You did that yet? Nope, I didn't. But I'm glad you mentioned it. And sometimes what I like to do is I like to find one or two nosy folks, and I just tell them what I'm working on. I don't have to give them specifics, but I like to just tell them, I'm gonna release a book soon. Cause they'll be the main one asking you, Dominic, you said you was gonna make that book, man. You said you was gonna write that book. When you gonna launch that book? You know what? You right. And sometimes when you have that constant reminder, when you have folks constantly checking up on you, that helps. Another thing is we have to get in the mindset of teamwork. We have to develop a team. We have to develop a team. You are not great at everything. There are some things that you lack in, and there's nothing wrong with that. Where you lack, someone has a strength at. So how often are you reaching out to people? This should be a weekly task, a weekly habit of reaching out to people. Our greatest resource are people. But when you're not reaching out to people, why is it that you're not reaching out to people? Because sometimes we don't like to ask for help because we don't want to seem like we don't know what we're doing. Sometimes we don't like to ask for help because we don't like relying on people. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to have to rely on people. You're going to have to use people. There's a difference between using somebody and taking advantage of somebody. You're going to have to use people. I want people to use me. I'm meant to be used. And when you're not being used, you are useless. When you're not being used, you are useless. You want to be used. I want people to use me. I have a gift. I have a natural ability. I have a skill set that needs to be used. How often are you calling up people for advice? How often are you reaching out to mentors? Do you have a mentor? Can you identify a mentor, somebody you can actually look up to, somebody that's in a position where you have a desire to be at? How often are you doing that? How often are you doing that? How often are you reaching out to people? How often are you taking this project and asking yourself, how can I get other people else on board? How can I help? How can I use other people to help, expand this? How can somebody else improve this? How often are you networking with people? How often are you sitting down with other people? This is very important. And when you network with other people, identify what your resources are. Identify what your skill sets are. Identify what your gifts are. Furthermore, identify what your needs are. Identify where you lack. This is very important when you're having a conversation, because really when you're having a conversation, you're networking, it's all about how can I help you? And that person should be saying the same thing. How can I help you? How can we help each other out? And based upon how you can help each other out, depending on what resources you all have, what you all bring to the table, what you all need, and so forth. But it takes effective communication. Understand that you don't know it all. Having the right tone. Listening. Oftentimes, when I'm networking with other people, I'm the one just listening, because I want to identify what their needs are. That's why it's so easy for me to network, because I can identify what somebody's needs are. When I identify what their needs are and what they're lacking in, now I know how to talk their language. It's not that difficult, but we make it difficult because we just think about ourselves. It's all about ourselves. It's all about ourselves. So people, with the hesitation, we're making it about ourselves at the end of the day. We're making it about ourselves at the end of the day, and we're not thinking about the impact. We're not thinking about the process. We're not bringing on other people. We're not identifying what's influencing those emotions. and we're not able to identify those things, we're not able to address it. So this is something that we gotta leave in 2017. There's something that many of you are hesitated in or hesitated on in 2017. But if you're not strategic, if you don't have a process, if you don't have a strategy, you're gonna repeat it next year. You're gonna repeat it next year. So it's another thing to say, you know what, I'm going to accomplish this time, but it's one thing to actually take time out, map everything out, identify, you know what, this what influenced everything, and this is how I'm going to address it. This is the impact that I want to make. This is how I want to impact people. This is how I want to serve people. This is my why. And that's what's going to really drive you. So I hope everyone really enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know, comment, like the video. Please share the video, because there are so many people who are hesitating on things. And this is something that's really killing our momentum. This is something that's really affecting us in so many ways. And when you have a desire in your heart, you have to get it out. When you have a strong desire in your heart, you have to get it out. And we have to get these desires out. We have a mission, we have a purpose, and we have to put in the work to make these things happen, you all. So I'm out. My name is Dominique Bond. I'm CEO of Ace Ambition. And I hope you all liked the video, and I hope you all shared the video. I'm out. Thank you so much.